I'd like to ask you, what do you think is one of the biggest single problems with the Australian film industry?
We've lost our audience. But this is not something... I think that the critics who are talking about Australian filmmakers as the ones to blame for the fact that we've lost our audience are missing the point.
So what do you think Australian films could do in order to compete with Hollywood films?
Well, we just don't have a big enough budget over here.
Do you think that the current funding situation in the Australian film industry allows for that type of filmmaking?
Well, unless you're Baz Luhrmann, no. And the question is, do we need to make big budget action films? And the response to that should be, well, why not?
What do you think is easily implemented solution for creating marketing budgets for Australian films?
Well, I know what my halcyon vision for the future would be, and that would be money going from extra sales, extra expensive tickets to American films directly into marketing Australian films. That would be kind of overseen by a government body like Screen Australia.
What do you think about the idea of having subscription-based internet usage in Australia in order to help fund?
I think it's a great idea. It's like a tax on porn. So because there's so much free internet porn now, then why not tax that in order to sort of provide some funds for Australian film and television and online producers? I mean, we shouldn't forget that online producers also need money.
How do you feel about piracy and streaming and your film being available online?
If I was a producer, I would be flipping out, because basically the minute your film is freely downloadable on the web, there goes a DVD sale.
Where would you like to see the movie industry go? Like with different types of films, what would you prefer seeing more of?
I must admit I'm into the chick flicks, but it is that I'm quite happy to see Australian movies. I'm getting a bit sick of the American formula.
What's your take on this sort of rediscovery, if you like, of Australian genre film, which has happened in the past couple of years, and you've got people like Quentin Tarantino out there championing it and talking about how it's influenced him. Why do you think this sort of re-emergence?
Because they're great films. I mean, they are fantastic films. They're crazy films that Australians were. They weren't scared to sort of to let all their sort of desire and angst and sort of anger hang out.
What is the last Australian film you saw?
The last Australian film I saw was Candy.
The last Australian film I saw was last week. It was Lucky Country. But he ended up, I think, his film looked fantastic. There were some great performances. I think everyone agrees with that.
Hello in there! Got a sick boy here. Won't last long if we don't get some shelter for the night. Look, we could help you out a bit.
Dad! That's what he did!
Let's bag something back for the working man, shall we? Interesting kid. Doesn't deserve a man like that for a father. Everything all right, Tom? With the farm? With your dad?
I haven't actually really seen an Australian film in the cinemas, but I have watched, the only Aussie film I can remember right about now is Mad Max with Mel Gibson.
It's this way.
The last Australian film I went to was Australia.
Japan sweeps the South Pacific, heading toward Australia.
It would have to be Happy Feet.
Push me 'cause I am close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose my head.
What you doing with your feet?
I thought it was kind of cute.
But it just ain't Panther, okay?
How important is the trailer?
It's really important because without a good trailer, without a little bit of a punch, a kick, I'd tell you I'm not interested.
Definitely, yes, it does. If I look at a trailer and it doesn't seem too appealing or is a bit too violent, it will turn me off. Yes.
How do you think we can improve the Australian film and television industry?
The way I think we can improve our industry is by doing more of it, get more government funding, support us both on a state and a federal basis, and increase the ability of students.
Do you feel Australia produces competitive content?
Oh yes, I absolutely do. I think we're doing some really good things with our films, and a lot to do with the young film artists. They're all, seem to be going very, very well, and it seems to have a lot of good content.
Absolutely. We are really remarkable. We're in the front, we're moving forward, we're able to pick up new technologies, use them, adapt them, and improve upon them.
Are there any particular films that have stood out for you this year?
It's been a vintage year for Australian cinema. There's been 5 films that have been absolutely brilliant standout films that have been recognised critically, if not in terms of audiences. Although one film that was critically recognised and then had this enormous audience is Samson and Delilah. That's a really difficult film, and the fact that it won the Cannes Award was a testament to the film's critical potency. But I was just surprised at how many North Shore Madams were going along to see that and were really enjoying it. It didn't feel to be like a film for them, but it really tugged at their heartstrings.
Favourite Australian documentary?
I really enjoyed Forbidden Lives.
My name is Norma Khoury. I'm Jordanian. I had a very difficult childhood with my father, and then my best friend gets killed by her father. It was at that point that I said, I will do everything in my power to help you prove that she did exist and that she was killed.
And what about a favourite Australian TV show?
Kingswood Country.
You do look a bit crook, Dad.
I know, you get like that when you're dying.
Yeah, go on, poke out your tongue.
Eh? Oh.
Now close one eye. Click your fingers. Now say ah.
Can you name an Australian director?
It's George Miller, who's unbelievable.
Why, after 20 years, did you want to go back to Mad Max?
Because a story came to me. In fact, the last thing I wanted to do was to tell another Mad Max story. I'd already done 3 and I thought I'd exhausted it, and they're tough films to make.
Is it as hard to get a documentary up and running? Do you have to jump through different kinds of hoops, or is it a similar process to getting up a fiction?
The thing about documentary is most of it will end up being broadcast rather than seen in cinemas. So a theatrical doco which is going to attract punters to cinemas, ideally to Hoyts and the mainstream multiplexes.
Thank you, Anna, for coming and sharing your insight on the future of Australian film. And thank you for watching.
Thank you.